Move over, Mary Grace Piatos. Now it's Antonio Pagong, Timon Pusa, and Sunicio Belat. Just some of the more unusual names to emerge in the OVP's confidential funds receipts as the impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Duterte continued on day 17. But former disbursing officer Gina Acosta admits she could not confirm if the listed recipients actually got the cash. Her basis, documents and explanations from Colonel Raymond Lachica, Trusted Security Officer of VP Duterte. And from impeachment to school safety, the Education Department postponed its nationwide active shooter drill, citing bad weather and class suspensions. This also comes after psychiatry groups called for the activity to be deferred, warning that hyper-realistic simulations could traumatize students. Good evening, you're watching Political Beat. I am Lourdes de Vera. Former OVP disbursing officer Gina Acosta was grilled on day 17 of the Vice President's impeachment trial. Prosecutors and senator judges pressed her over her supposed handling of hundreds of millions of pesos in confidential funds. From her reliance on Colonel Raymond Lachica to more questionable names in acknowledgement receipts. And we have our mobile journalist, Merymon Reyes, joining us live from the Senate. All right, Merymon, bago ang lahat, ang pinakahalagang balita, sabi ng iba, sa araw na ito, nagtanong si Senator Lito Lapid. At yung tanong niya ay, hindi ko alam kung seryoso si Senator Zubiri, no? Sabi niya parang wala na rin sa tatanong, anticlimactic na raw ang lahat ng pagkatapos noon. Ano ba tinanong ni Senator Lapid, Merymon?
Lord, itong si Senator Judge Lito Lapid nag-avail din ng time niya para magbato ng clarificatory questions or interjection dito kay former Special Disbursing Officer ng OVP na si Gina Acosta. He actually asked Acosta kung paano niya hinandle itong confidential funds, kung pagkatapos bang i-withdraw sa bangko, direkta na ba itong binigay kay Colonel Raymond Lachica ng Vice Presidential Protection and Security Group. Ang nasabi dito ni Acosta, yung isang quarter daw noong 2022, buo binigay. Yung ilang quarters ng first 3 quarters ng 2023, partially lang daw, nilagay muna ito sa vault. And then later on, na-bring up din ni Senator Judge Lito Lapid yung may lumabas kasi na sa acknowledgement receipts na supposedly nakatanggap din ng either payment for reward or information naman, may lumabas na apelidong Lapid. At ang sabi pa dito ni Senator Lito, papasalamat daw siya kung sakaling tunay niya nga kamag-anak ang mga ito, pero if ever daw na hindi, anomalya daw itong mga peke pangalan o alias. Let's listen to a part of the impeachment trial regarding that earlier.
Papasalamat po ako kung totoong Lapid yung kamag-anak ko po kasi. Sabi po kasi ng tatay ko, basta Lapid kamag-anak ko. Kaya magpapasalamat po ako sa defense at kay Lachica kung nabigyan yung kamag-anak. Kung hindi, kung alias yun, paano yung pangalan at apelido namin na inalias nyo lang pala, hindi totoong tao?
Your Honor, yung mga documents po na yan ay galing po sa security officer, Your Honor, na si Colonel Lachica, Your Honor. Itinalaga po ni Vice President, Your Honor. Kaya po ako, nag-rely po ako, Your Honor.
Ba't yung pinagkatiwalaan si Colonel Lachica, may nakita ba kayong background niya? Nung siya, active pa siya hanggang ngayon, ano? Meron ba siyang intelligence fund sa office niya, na sarili niya?
Hindi ko alam, Your Honor.
Hindi mo inalam?
Hindi ko alam, Your Honor.
Alright, Merymon, tinawag ni Prosecutor Amando Ligutan ang selective recall ng pag-alala kumbaga itong si Acosta. Ano ang nangyari ba? Ano yung basehan niya for saying this?
Lord, nung nag-continue na kasi itong direct exam ng prosecution ni Attorney Amando Virgil Ligutan kay Acosta, yung unang mga tanong ni Ligutan tungkol kasi sa kaalaman, has something to do sa kaalaman at sa experience ni Acosta bilang SDO ng Davao City noong mayor pa during that time, itong si VP Sara Duterte. Ang tanong kasi ni Attorney Ligutan, nung winidraw niya o hawak na yung hard cash na 125 billion pesos na CF noong last quarter ng 2022, paano niya nasabing sakto sa 4 na travel bag itong pera? Sabi dito ni Acosta, tansya niya lang daw, estima niya lang daw ito at wala raw siyang experience so far tungkol dyan. Pero ang sabi ni Atty. Ligutan, parang hindi ba parang pareho ito noong SDO ka dati ng Davao na 2019, 2020, 2021, puro may tig 460 million pesos in confidential funds ang Davao. Sabi dito ni Atty. Ni Acosta, wala raw siya maalala, matagal na raw yun, may katandaan na raw siya, at hindi naman daw niya naaalala ganun kalaki yung pera na wini-withdraw niya. Pero nung nag-cross-exam naman, nung hapon, ang defense na pinangunahan ni Atty. Lindon Baquel, sabi ni Atty. Ligutan, magically, naalala bigla daw ni Acosta yung panahon na yun na nasasagot niya yung tanong ng depensa na nung panahon na SDO ka ng Davao City, nalaman mong, alam mong effective ba yung joint circular ng COA? Oo. Alinsunod ba sa joint circular yung ginawa mo? Oo. May notice of suspension ba, disallowance from COA? Wala po. Sa kaya, yun yung magically, nagkaroon daw ng recall itong si Acosta. Pakinggan natin again yung bahagi na yun sa trial kanina.
The Commission on Audit did not reopen any audit for confidential funds, correct?
Correct po.
Your Honor, sorry, but I have to
As you answered, Your Honor.
interject a continuing objection to this series of questions. May I state my ground?
I think I know what your ground is, Counsel, but you may do so for the
Your
record.
Honor, magically, now this witness remembers in Davao. Kanina, when the prosecution was asking her, sabi niya,
Counsel is
hindi niya
testifying,
maalala.
Your Honor.
Wait, incompetent. Put in
It's-
record.
Parang Merrimon, lumalabas kanina, all roads lead to Raymond La Chica. No? Parang gano'n ang, parang kawawa nga ito. May mga naaawa na nga kasi parang paulit-ulit na tinatanong siya, ultimately, ang makakasagot pa rin yan, kung pakikinggan mo ano niya, ay si Raymond La Chica daw, wala siyang kaalam. Kumbaga nag-abot lang siya ng pera, parang gano'n ba talaga, Merrimon?
Lord, oo. Kasi ang sinasabi dito ni Acosta, una, ito yung sinabi niya nung lumipas na linggo, utos ni VP Sara na ibigay ni Acosta yung confidential funds dito kay Colonel La Chica. Ang nangyayari naman, ang system nila, kapag ka natanggap daw nila Chica itong confidential funds, may pinipirmahan supposedly na resibo na natanggap niya yung confi funds. Later on, kapag ka na-implement na raw yung program o kaya na may aktibidad, may pinapadala naman daw o sinasubmit na fund utilization report itong sila Chica at yun daw ang itatali ni Acosta. Nakadepende lang ito sa kung anong mga dokumento ang ibibigay lang sa kanya nila Chica. At kapag natali naman na daw ito, liquidated niya na raw ito, ipapasa niya na raw sa COA, yung resibong pinirmahan na yon nila Chica, babawiin nila Chica. Kaya walang maipresentang resibo itong si Acosta na natanggap nila Chica yung confidential fund. Maging yung mga resibo para doon sa pagbili ng payment of reward, na medisina, even yung mga supplies na supposedly ginamit sa mga operasyon na may kinalaman sa paggamit ng confidential funds, lahat ng mga ito walang resibo. Acknowledgement receipts lang at ito pa ay may template na binigay si Acosta kay Colonel La Chica. Ang sabi din daw sa kanya ni La Chica, bagaman may obserbasyon daw itong si Acosta na may mga dokumento daw na walang date, kulang daw sa nilalaman. Fully confidential daw at sensitibo daw yung nature nitong operation. Kaya kung ano raw yung binigay sa kanya nila Chica, yan na raw yun. Kaya naman kumulo pa rin yung dugo kanina ng ilang mga senador, kabilang na dyan sila Senator Ping Lacson at even si Senator Tulfo na sinasabing hindi raw ba blindly, kumbaga estupido itong si Acosta dahil sa kanyang blind loyalty. Nakapikit lang daw yung mata kung ano lang daw iutos sa taas, yun lang daw yung kanyang gagawin. Pakinggan natin muli yung ilang bahagi ng trial kanina.
So naniwala kayo sa sinabi niya na confidential nature kahit na isa lang signature sa napakaraming pangalan. So
Kasi
you
siya
took his
po,
word for it.
kasi siya po ang nag-implement sa mga confidential activities, Your Honor, on the grounds. Siya po ang inatasan na mag-implement. Siya ang implementor po, Your Honor.
So for me, in this case, you are stupid in the name of blind loyalty.
Wala kang oversight kung ano prepare, pirma, approve ng SDO.
Gidiscuss po namin, Your Honor, based po sa program po ng Office of the Vice President, Your Honor.
Pero kung hindi, sabi mo kasi narinig ko yung sagot mo kay Atty. Ligutan, Pag satisfied po ako, pipirma ako. So hindi minister.
Gidiscuss po namin Your Honor, yung PAP, Your Honor. Hindi
Tapos
po
na
ako
oras yun. Sige,
nagpirma.
maraming salamat. Wala akong makuha sagot sa iyo.
Makukuha ang sagot. Yun ang sinabi ni Senator Ping Lacson. Mary Mon, paano nag-emerge itong mga bagong batch ng mga, let's say, unusual names na alam mo yung humahagikik yung mga audience kapag narinig nila yung mga pangalang Pagong, Pusa at ayusin ko yung pagka-mention, Belat.
Belat, Lord, Belat. No, tulad kasi ng mga lumipas na linggo, nag-present din ang prosecution ng ilan sa libo-libong mga dokumento o yung mga acknowledgement receipt na either purchase ng information o payment naman ng reward ang pinaggastusan ng confidential funds. Kaya naman ng mga lumipas na linggo, nakita natin sila Patitim, sila Andy Lim, sila Mary Grace Piatos. Kanina naman ang pinakita itong sina Antonio Pagong, Timon Andrew Pusa, Don Piang, May Pamana or May Pamana, Shane Ngit-Ngit at yun na, si Shuniso Belat na medyo sensitibo siya kung sa ibang pamamaraan mo siya babasahin o bibigkasin. At ang ilan pa sa lumabas din, puwera doon sa apelido ni Senator Lapid, sabi niya kung totoo raw, okay, kung hindi, edi anomalya daw yon. Mayroon ding acknowledgement receipt na nakalagay ay parang Clarice Ontiveros at yung nakalagay doon na araw na na-receive yung bayad ay birthday ni Senator Risa Ontiveros. Kaya maraming na-bring up again na pagtatanong na may kinalaman dito sa acknowledgement receipts at eto muli yung ilan sa mga pangalan na questionable pa sa ngayon. At sabi pa rin naman din dito ni Acosta, kung ano yung binigay daw sa kanya ni La Chica, iyan daw yun. Pero nung tinatanong siya ni Senator Tulfo kung alam niya bang, kung may nag-i-exist daw bang pangalan na gano'n, yung aso, yung gano'n, hindi raw, parang wala naman daw gano'n na pangalan.
Mary Mon, ito pinagtataka ko lang, bakit nung tinatanong ng mga both sa press, pati na rin kung ipapatawag daw ba si La Chica as witness, parang ang sagot palagi pag-uusapan daw. Kumbaga, walang affirmation, walang kasiguraduhan kung mukhang sa daloy ng testimonya nitong si Acosta na kinukonfirm lang, pwede mo sabihin na kinukonfirm niya yung isang detalye na sinabi ng taga-landback na nilalagay daw sa mga duffel bags, no? At sinabi nito dati ni Madriaga, no? Bakit medyo wishy-washy about calling for La Chica to be a witness for the prosecution?
Lord, ang nasabi kasi dyan, sa huli natin narinig dito kay counsel to the prosecutors, Attorney Lorna Capunan, kinokonsidera pa nila kung ipapatawag nila at kung kailan nila ipapatawag itong si Colonel La Chica. Wala nga lang silang sinabi na off the table na to, pero kinoconsider pa nila ito, depende rin sa magiging daloy ng mga testigo. Pero yan din yung isa sa mga ine-expect natin na hopefully anytime soon, if not later, mapatawag din itong sila Chica kasi even yung senator judges, hindi sila satisfied sa naging sagot ni Acosta. Even si Attorney Ligutan, sinabi pare-pareho lang daw yung sagot ni Acosta. Parang iisa lang daw yung sagot ni Acosta. At ang nakapila kasi for this week is dapat si Edward Fajarda na SDO ng DepEd pero batay doon ayon sa medical certificate pati sa isang kasulatan mula sa isang law office hindi raw muna makakapunta si Fajarda dahil confined siya sa isang ospital dahil raw nagka-stroke. So ang utos dito ng impeachment court ng mga doktor ng Senado i-verify, i-evaluate, i-examine kung totoo ba ito at kung magiging fit ba o hindi na fit para mag-attend ng pagdinig itong si Fajarda. Kaya ang nakapila para bukas na ipapatawag naman para tumistigo ay itong si Assistant Chief of Staff ng OVP na si Lemuel Ortonio. Nag-request na rin ng subpoena ang prosecution para sa tatlong opisyal naman ng AFP.
Sino ang ipapatawag bukas? Ang staff ng OV, ang pangalan ulit doon, Mary Mon, ang maging opong witness for tomorrow?
Si Lemuel Ortonio. At kanina nabanggit na rin yung pangalan niya na noong binigay ni Acosta yung confidential funds sa 125 million pesos dito kay Colonel La Chica, nagkaroon pa raw ng isang pagkakataon na nag-request pa raw ito ng additional 150,000 pesos for security purposes. At ang ginawa daw dito ni Acosta, tinawagan niya raw itong si Ortonio na sinabi kailangan daw ni Colonel La Chica ng dagdag pa ng 150K at binigay daw ito ni Ortonio. Pero hindi alam ni Acosta kung saan nanggaling yun Kasi ang cash advance lang nila ay 125 billion pesos para sa confidential funds. Kaya maaring may mga isisiwalat pa itong si Ortonio kung sakali man. At aabangan din natin kung ipapateklara din siya ng prosekusyon na hostile witness.
Oo, tapos yung si La Chica din, mukhang talagang kailangan yung ano nito kasi tinanong din ni Presiding Officer Chis Escudero kung halimbawa, ito bang yung pag-disburse ng magkanong pera yon sa magkakasabay na mga lugar sa iba-iba, di ba? Kumbaga,
Tama.
yung
May mga
Superman na
pagkakataon.
tinawag, oo.
May mga pagkakataon pa, Lord, na pareho lang yung pirma doon sa ilan sa mga acknowledgement receipt. Pero yun nga, ang sinasabi ni Acosta, ang nasabi rin daw sa kanya kasi ni Colonel Achica tungkol dito sa mga dokumentong ito, sensitive, confidential itong mga operasyon, kung ano yan na yun. Kaya yan din yung tinatanong kanina ng Senator Judges, kung ministerial ba, ginagawa mo ba talaga yung trabaho mo, may oversight ka ba talaga dito, o kung ano lang yung sabihin gawin mo, prepare mo, pirmahan mo, yun na raw yun. Pero yun pa yung isa sa naging tanong kanina, kung alam niyo ba na STO siya. Kumbaga, usapin na lang ito ng common sense at kung alam niya yung trabaho niya bilang SDO. Sabi naman dito ni ako, sa may utak naman daw siya at alam niya naman daw yung kanyang ginagawang trabaho.
Alright. On that note, tuloy pa rin yung dating schedule, Mary Mon, as is, walang pagbabago sa schedules.
Sa ngayon, Lord, sa ngayon. Pero ang sabi dyan ni Presiding Officer Escudero, sa Wednesday baka magkaroon daw sila na ruling tungkol dyan. Pero dahil may 1 week na notice na kinakailangan lagi kung magkakaroon ng changes sa trial schedule, magiging effective ito kung sakaling magkaruling na sa Wednesday sa unang linggo ng Setyembre. Pero yun pa, may consensus, sabi ni SP Gatchalian, pero hindi pa natin talaga masiguro kung hapon hanggang 1 to sawa na talaga. Pero kung sakali, yun ang mangyayari kung may magbabago man.
Alright, on that note, maraming salamat sa iyong ulat. Our mobile journal in the Senate, Mary Mon Reyes. Thank you, Mary Mon. Alright, don't go away. More developments ahead here on Political Beat. The Vice President has filed a second perjury complaint against her alleged former aide, Ramil Madriaga, who has also claimed to be the Vice President's bagman. Let's discuss the merits of complaints with their legal counsel, Attorney Paulo Panelo. Welcome to Political Beat, Attorney Panelo, sir.
Good evening, Lord. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so let's start with the second perjury complaint. Anong specifics doon sa statements ni Madriaga's supplemental affidavit yung kiniklaim ninyo na false?
Actually, Lord, virtually all kasi ng statements niya sa supplemental affidavit niya false. But for purposes of tonight, we can focus on yung critical talaga, which is, sabi niya, di ba, he disbursed confidential funds, not in 11 days as reported, but in less
24.
than 24 hours. So, natuwa kami dito kasi in the first Madriaga affidavit, hindi niya masyadong binigyan ng detalye itong deliveries eh. So ang hirap i-verify. Pero itong sa supplemental affidavit, he gave details. So yun, we were able to research, we were able to verify. At dito sa second perjury complaint, linabas namin yung mga rason kung bakit imposible yung mga sinasabi niya. So number one, ang sabi niya, from DepEd, where he got the money with these new companions, dumiretso sila sa Cabuyao, Laguna to deliver a bag or two containing 30 to 35 million.
Ito yung may SNR
Oo.
na wala sa immediate
sabi niya,
vicinity.
Cabuyao, Laguna, tanaw niya yung SNR, walang SNR mall doon. From the first delivery, punta siyang Nomo Basho in Tomas Morato. He said he arrived there midnight. He saw Attorney Reynold Monzayac, the former OVP spokesperson, si Nenya San, na sa taas i-deliver. Ang
Stockroom
problema,
lang pala.
that's one. Pero more importantly, nung gabing yon, may private Christmas party sa Nomo Basho. Sarado siya to the public. At magkakakilala yung mga tao doon, napakasikip. And they've attested yung owner, pati yung nag-organize ng party mismo, na wala si Attorney Monzayac doon. At two, wala silang napansin na dalawang mamang may dalang duffel bag doon. At
Nakapansin-pansin yun, ano?
oo,
Ganun kalaki.
dahil napakasikip eh. We showed pictures of the party to show na pagka may dumating doon na taong hindi taga-Christmas party nila, mapapansin mo talaga. Tapos matatamaan mo pa yung mga tao actually sa sobrang sikip. And then yung third,
Yung painting.
third delivery sa Ombudsman Building kinabukasan December 21, ang intended beneficiary kasi noon is si Attorney Ryan Kilala, who is Assistant Special Prosecutor of the Ombudsman, or si Ombudsman Martires. So the thing with that is, si Attorney Ryan Kilala, matalik na kaibigan nitong si Madriaga, and nakapunta na siya sa bahay niya many times, si Madriaga, sa bahay ni Kilala. So sabi namin, highly improbable na doon pa dadalhin sa Ombudsman, meron pang iiwan yung susi sa kotse, napakadaling dalhin sa bahay niya or tawagan niya, mag-meet tayo somewhere discreet.
Kasi work from home sila.
Tapos, more importantly, work from home din si Attorney Kilala on that day and for the entire month of December. So, talagang improbable. Si Ombudsman Martires naman, napabalitaan natin na wala pala siya sa bansa nung araw na yun.
Okay. Tapos there's issue din yung si Madriaga daw yung nagbigay ng painting na yun.
Oh, yun
Na
pa.
nakita sa Zoom, among many others. Pero, okay, sinasabi nitong si Madriaga na more importantly, yung testimonya ni Gina Acosta kanina ay tumutugma doon sa narrative ni Madriaga at pati na rin sa narrative ng yung witness from the land bank sa impeachment. At least, yung mga detalyeng yun ay kaya bang ma-override nito mga binanggit mo?
Tingin ko kasi, sabi nga namin, sabi ni VP Sara doon sa kanyang second perjury complaint, bukod doon sa mga impormasyon na publicly available na, walang madagdag si Madriaga na detalye na bago na hindi namin mabasag dahil impossible, improbable. Like itong, sinabi niya, yung date na December 20, kasi yun yung araw na release ng Land Bank yung funds kay Gina Acosta. Parang this information was already available from the House hearings, House Committee on Good Governance, the first committee that investigated itong confidential funds. Doon din lumabas na binigay ni Gina Acosta yung funds kay Colonel La Chica. Doon din lumabas yung amounts. So, bukod doon kasi, so ang tingin naming nangyari dito is because they wanted a person to testify on how confidential funds were misused. They built a narrative based on already publicly available information, which would have been fine if he had supplied details that had substantiation. So kunyari, kung nag-deliver siya dun sa Laguna politician, di sana nabigay niya yung pangalan man lang or nakapagpakita siya ng pictures, contemporaneous text messages about yung instructions, pero wala siyang mapakita eh.
Hindi
Puro
niya raw
laway
binubura.
lang. Ha?
Hindi niya raw binubura yung mga text message sa phone, sabi niya.
Well, hanggang ngayon, hindi pa napapakita. And critical yan because as early as March, we already filed the first perjury complaint. As early as March, sinasabi na merong text messages. Pero despite the opportunities given by the prosecutor's office of the gig for him to produce these text messages, hanggang ngayon wala pa rin.
Me playing devil's advocate, kunyari. Ano kaya yung dahilan? The prosecution could have very well questioned Gina Acosta last August 17, ano? About yung relasyon, to use to corroborate the testimony of Ramil Madriaga, but it did not grab the opportunity. Sa tingin mo, bakit?
Well,
Duda sila.
tingin ko, ang speculation ko dyan is even the prosecution is convinced that Madriaga is not credible. And that's why you get statements from the prosecution team na sinusukat pa daw nila kung i-represent nila. Matatandaan natin nung prinesenta yan sa House Justice Committee, he was dubbed as the missing link, the star witness of the prosecution. Ito na yung magpapatunay na winaldas talaga yung pera ng confidential funds. Pero here you have the prosecution, yun nga, parang medyo nagda-damage control sila. Sinasabi nila, baka hindi na kailangan kasi sapat na yung iprepresenta namin. But to me, that's very telling na itong tao na binild up nyo na malapit kay VP, nagdala ng milyong-milyong pera para sa kanya, di umano, biglang hindi niya iprepresenta.
At and siguro yung ano ng iba, they're hinging there on the 4 dark duffel bags, each containing 30 to 35 million daw. Oo, yun ang common denominator sa testimonya ni Acosta at ni Madriaga. Okay. Pero sinasabi ninyo palagi na hindi naman talaga close si Madriaga like he purports himself to be or like he presents himself to be as kasi ang inyong proof ay kung close siya, bakit kailangan pa siyang magpaalam to take the place of one guest doon sa inauguration?
Yeah.
Can you
Yeah, kasi ang napapakita ni Madriaga so far na pictures and videos are pictures during the campaign. So, hindi naman dinedeny ni VP Sara na naging taga-suporta niya tong si Ramil Madriaga, binuo niya yung EC Pilipinas. Ang dinedeny ng VP natin is, number one, hindi niya inutos na gawin ni Madriaga itong EC Pilipinas.
mag-form ng...
Pangalawa, dinedeny din ni VP Sara na beyond these routine campaign interactions, na meron silang ibang ugnayan. And it's very telling na beyond those pictures during the campaign, wala siyang mapakitang iba. Kasi wala talagang relasyon.
yung bumati pa raw ng happy birthday.
Tingin ko nga, Lord, yun yung ebidensya mismo na hindi sila magkakilala eh. Because I don't know kung na-requestan ka na niyan na bumati ng mga hindi mo
Nako.
kakilala na video, diba?
Kinakabahan ako sa ganyan.
So, tingin ko, yun mismo yung patunay na hindi sila magkakilala dahil if otherwise, edi she could have just called him, diba? To greet him a happy birthday.
Pero was he a member of her, kumbaga, security force? Member talaga siya? Na-confirm yun?
Hindi po talaga.
Hindi talaga?
Oo.
I see.
And we have testimonies from the PSG, the former PSG commanders during the time of PRRD na sinasabi niyang na formally assign siya doon. Lahat sila sinasabi, di namin kilala yan. Meron din kaming PSG certification na nagsasabing walang Madriaga na formally assigned or ever connected dito. Sa VP SPG, ganun din, roster of troops, wala din siya. Walang may kilala sa kanya sa security forces na nagbabantay kay PRRD at pati kay VP Sara.
Ang tindi, umiyak pa siya di ba? Naging sentimental pa siya, biglang nag-breakdown sa gitna kasi supposedly parang may naramdaman daw siyang betrayal of sorts. Parang ganun. Magkakilala may sinabi yata dati sila Chica about Madriaga. Magkakilala ba silang dalawa?
Si Colonel La Chica mismo sinabi niya hindi niya kilala si Madriaga, he's never met him. Pero ang may kakilala kay Madriaga ay si Lieutenant Colonel Nolasco. So in his affidavit, ang paliwanag ni Lieutenant Colonel Nolasco ay itong si Madriaga was part of an external service provider that taught some security-related course for the PSG, pero it was not an official activity. It was just held in the PSG.
I see.
So after that, si Lieutenant Colonel Nolasco was designated as the training commandant of the PSG at linapitan siya nitong ni Madriaga to volunteer to teach in the PSG the courses that he said in his affidavit na tinuro niya sa PSG. At ang sabi ni Nolasco is, sorry, hindi namin pwedeng tanggapin yung alok mo because we have in-house subject matter experts. Hindi ko kumukuha ng outsiders. So yun, doon pa lang napapatunayan na hindi talaga taga-PSG, hindi talaga insider itong si Madriaga. And more critically, Lord, ito, pinaka-important na hindi ko maintindihan bakit hindi masyadong pinipick up ng media. There's a text message from Madriaga to Lieutenant Colonel Nolasco dahil nga magkakilala sila, soliciting false testimony from Lieutenant Colonel Nolasco. Ang sinasabi niya, Colonel Nolasco, sabihin mo na lang na yung confidential fund sa akin mo binigay, ako na lang magpapaliwanag kung anong ginawa ko doon kasi mag-state witness ako. Parang sinasabi niya, kayo makakasuhan kayong perjury, so bumaliktad ka na lang, sabihin mo sa akin mo na lang ibinigay para hindi ka makulong. Ako, nagiging state witness ako, don't worry about me. So, yun, it provides motive kung bakit niya ginagawa itong false testimony niya against Vice President. Gusto niyang makawala doon sa current na kaso niya, which is kidnapping for ransom.
Nga eh. He's also claiming closeness to the father. May basehan ba yun? Pareho rin sila nagmumotor.
Wala talaga eh kasi ang nakita ang main witness natin sa usaping yan is we were able to secure the affidavit of Assistant Secretary Lisette Marquez. She was the appointment secretary during the time of PRRD, and she attests na for the entire presidency of Rodrigo Duterte, wala siyang nakilalang Madriaga, walang kamiting si PRRD na Madriaga, walang record na ganun. Kahit na personal or private meeting, kung malapit ka talaga sa Pangulo, makikilala ka nila dahil silang nag-organize, nagmamanage ang schedule niya, wala talaga.
Meron akong stupid question from a non-lawyer.
Okay.
What do you gain from consolidating the two the two complaints of perjury?
Okay.
Tapos bakit hindi na lang gamitin yung use the contradictions doon sa supplemental affidavit to strengthen the first case?
No, that's exactly what we're trying to do. To us, we feel that the supplemental affidavit proves that the first affidavit was perjurious. So instead of letting the Office of the City Prosecutor decide it separately, para sa amin, mas advantageous kung sabay para tignan ni Fiscal's Office holistically na ang pruweba namin that the first Madriaga affidavit is perjurious is not only what we filed the first time, but pati itong pangalawa. Kasi connected naman talaga siya. Overlapping witnesses, overlapping evidence, related allegations. So, yeah, and the truth of the matter is, we wanted to file this second perjury complaint also to put pressure on the Department of Justice. Kasi alam naman natin that if they could, for political reasons, i-dismiss nila ito. Kasi syempre, pagka na-dismissan si VP Sara ng perjury complaint versus Madriaga, makakasakit ito sa kanya di ba? So, para to put pressure na, hindi, gawin nyo lang yung trabaho nyo, we're not asking for any special favors, here's rule on the merits, here's another 750-page complaint, document-driven, supported by 12 corroborating witnesses. Ito na yung ebidensya namin kay Madriaga. Subukan yung i-dismiss pa yan.
Sinabi ninyo sa isang interview rin na Madriaga is a kind of Trojan horse, no? Kapag ginawa mong witness at maari maging star witness pa ng defense pag pinaupo. Okay. Pero useful lang daw ang Trojan horse kapag alam mo yung nasa loob. How confident are you na si Madriaga won't reveal something the defense had not anticipated or anyone had anticipated?
No, kasi kami, and hopefully anyone who's read the two complaints should by now be convinced na wala talagang katotohanan yung sinasabi niya. Beyond yung taga-suporta siya ni VP sa campaign na napakarami namang taong ganon noong 2022, wala talagang katotohanan yung mga sinasabi niya. So, kahit ano pang sabihin niya, alam naming mababasag namin. It's either magbibigay siya ng detalye na conveniently and fatally unverifiable, or magbibigay siya ng detalye na madali naming mababasag.
Okay. Yung complaints na ito ba, Attorney Panelo, is it primarily about obtaining a conviction or binanggit mo na rin dati, you sort of course, wala kang kinalaman sa impeachment sa defense, ano? Pero kamo nakikipag-usap ka rin, nakikipag-coordinate ka paminsan-minsan. Hindi ko lang alam kung sa anong antas. Or is it about undermining Madriaga's credibility, if ever, before the Senate?
Well, the primary objective is always to hold him accountable. Kasi sabi ko nga dati pa, kapag kasinalang mo yan sa House man or sa Senate impeachment court, pagka napatunayang nagsisinungaling siya, wala namang consequence yun eh. 'Di ba? Hindi lang siya papaniwalaan, pero walang kulong yun. Kahit na pinapatotohanan mo under oath yung mga kasinungalingan, di ba? So number one, you have to hold them accountable. Now, if it has the effect of also undermining his credibility and showing the people na this is the kind of impeachment effort that VP Sara's enemies are lodging against her, then so be it. Kasi kailangan yan, isipin mo, binoto ka ng napakadaming tao, binigyan ka ng tiwala ng 30 plus million, the most number of votes ever received for the position. Tapos, ang gagamiting witness laban sa'yo, hindi nagsasabi ng totoo. So parang, ganon sila ka-desperado, ganon sila ka-malisyoso. Diba?
Alright. On that note, abangan ang susunod na kabanata. Maraming salamat sa oras mo, Attorney Paolo Panelo. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Alright. Tsaka ko na tatanungin kung ano yung mga fashion tips na nakuha natin mula kay Attorney Sal. Alright. Do stick around, more developments ahead here on Political Beat. Just a quick nod to capitalism. Please don't go away. The Department of Education has rescheduled what was supposed to happen tomorrow, the nationwide active attack drill. But psychiatrists are calling on the Education Department to defer the drill, warning that high-intensity simulations could cause unnecessary trauma among students. To discuss this, we are joined by Dr. Joan May Rifarial, immediate past president of the Philippine Psychiatric Association. Doc Joan, thank you for joining us. Si Lord po.
Hello. Yes, good evening, Sir Lord, at maraming salamat for having the PPA on your program. Maraming salamat po.
Munti ko na kayo hindi makilala. Ang haba na ng buhok ninyo, Doc Joan. All right.
Yeah.
So, what is it specifically about the drill concerns you? What could a hyper-realistic simulation do to children? At sinasabi nila, di ba yung mga earthquake drills din, parang ganon din naman yan. Gano ito kaiba, or mga fire drill, Doc Joan?
Ibang-iba siya, Sir Lord. In fact, nag-release kami ng position statement because narinig namin to, nakuha namin yung memo, noong last week, over the weekend. And so, kami ay, of course, ang bottom line always pa rin, Sir Lord, ang PPA is one, with the DepEd, in ensuring the safety, and of course, the resilience of ating mga learners sa paaralan, sa kanilang protection. Yun lang, nung nakuha natin itong memo ng DepEd noong weekend, kami po ay nagbigay lang ng aming position in terms of highlighting na kung pwede nga siyang i-defer muna yung simulation of an active attack because we followed again yung evidence-based na principle, which is nag-research kami at nakita namin sa aming mga pag-aaral na merong mga nag-a-advise against high-intensity drills or mga deceptive practices, Sir Lord. At sa mga pag-aaral also, may nakita na 42% ang increase ng stress, anxiety, and 49% increase in depression language, even after sustained ito, even after 90 days after na mga drills na ito. So again, sana ay pag-aralang mabuti muna bago siya ipatupad sana today. Kasi isang nakita namin na gap, Sir Lord, is merong insufficient na ang preparation time. I think ang DepEd memo was issued August 12. I schedule kaagad tomorrow na. So, less than 2 weeks lang ito para ang mga paaralan ay makapaghanda. No? And ang question also dito is, of course, unrealistic na yung preparation na 2 weeks kasi lalo na sa mga guro natin, sa mga teachers. Kasi ang question also is, are they prepared ba or na-train ba ang ating mga guro for this type of drill? Which again is we follow also base sa evidence. Kailangan kasi trauma-informed ang preparation. Ano ba yung trauma-informed na tinatawag natin na method sana, Sir Lord? Ito ang mga components ng trauma-informed. Sana ay age-appropriate ang ating mga drills or ating mga activities para sa mga different age group ng ating schools. Kasi 'di ba, Sir Lord, iba ang understanding ng mas bata compared sa nasa elementary compared doon sa mga or
Hindi
PT.
pare-pero dapat yung mga drills, Doc.
Yes, yes. Oo, it should be age appropriate. Kasi kung mag-drill lang tayo na hindi masyado naiintindihan pa ng mga preschoolers, syempre baka ang mas maano natin is matakot sila kasi hindi sila aware, hindi sila capable pa ang kanilang mga brain to understand what is happening. So, mas simpler ang words natin, ang activities natin more simpler compared sana sa mas nasa middle age group, no? Or yung sa a school age group or middle school age group or sa mga teens na natin, na mga estudyante. Also, Sir Lourdes, ang nakita din natin dito when we reviewed it is yung, again, no, yung evidence on psychological safety risks from all of these simulations or drills, and safeguards dapat ay nandun to prevent trauma para sa mga younger age group or, no, or younger learners. Kasi, di ba Sir Lourdes, hindi naman siya one size fits all. Magkakaibang understanding, depende sa age. And also, design sana, Sir Lourdes, is more on preparedness pa rin, but sana ay we protect na yung the psychological and emotional safety ng ating mga learners. So, hopefully, yeah. And
Doc,
meron din mental health support available.
Yun. Doc, this would also assume na yung attacker ay tagalabas. What if the attacker is kasama rin doon sa mga drill? Supposedly, di alam niya rin kung anong gagawin, kung saan nagtatago, kung saan magtatago yung mga hahantingin niya, etc. Pero ano yung sinasabi po ninyo, Doc, na paki-explain po yung tabletop discussion? Ano pong ibig sabihin po nun, ma'am? Ito po yung inyong suggested alternative.
Yes, discussions ito, Sir Lourdes, tabletop exercises, meaning we have discussions about mga possible scenarios. Like for example, case-based, ang tawag, parang ganun siya, Sir Lourdes, case-based. About case 1, what if ito yung nangyari? What do we do? How do we act, or what do we do in situations like this? So, hindi siya kaagad, Sir Lourdes, na yung meron talagang simulated kaagad, no, na may active na perpetrator. So, yun sana, wag kaagad ganon. Mas maganda, we go through mga discussions first for those na mas nakakaintindi na, mas nakakaya nila to comprehend anong gagawin pag ganito ang scenario. Or sa mga pag-aaral, Sir Lourdes, sa mga mas bata na preschoolers, yung mga mas bata pa ang 3 to 5, for example, sila, since nila naintindihan yon, sa kanila, more on siguro, no, storytelling, di ba? Na kung ganito, may nangyaring ganito, more on storytelling, siguro, tuturuan sila ni teacher na, stay in one section of the classroom. And then si teacher ang magko-close na ng door, secure the locks, and then si teacher will constantly reassure, di ba? Reassurance ang focus ni teacher for younger age group. And then kung mas elementary, iba naman, no? So sa kanila is more gradual, no? Gradual yung mga scenarios na ito-present.
Sa Amerika nga, Doc Joanne, ang ibang suggestions sa ibang mga states, ay armahan din yung teacher. Oo, mga talagang the only way to stop a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with the gun. Yung mga ganun ang solusyon nila. Pero hindi ka akalain na aabot tayo sa ganun. Pero mahirap po i-profile kasi halimbawa yung mga perpetrators, Doc Joanne, magkaiba po yung sa Tacloban. Ito, sinasabi nila, honor student. Hindi naman daw mga loner, hindi raw loner ito. Respected yung pamilya sa kanila, nagkataon lang may access sa baril. At hindi naman daw binubuli. So, parang gumuguho po yung mga preconceived notions natin ng mga supposed perpetrators, Doc Joanne.
Ito kasi, Sir Lourdes, ongoing pang investigation yung sa the recent very tragic na event. So, mas maganda, Sir Lourdes, always tandaan natin, in general na lang, in general, Sir Lourdes, kung may nangyayari kasing any form of violence sa ating mga paaralan, ay always it's caused by multiple factors. So, talagang it's a whole of a society approach ang following, of course, yung from mga parental, school, home environment, school environment, sa community, of course, pati na rin sa peers, be it online or face-to-face peers natin, at sa lahat na maaaring posibleng factor na maaaring mag-contribute doon sa kung ano ang nangyaring tragedy, no, Sir Lourdes. But again, preparation is very important. But sana we follow pa rin, Sir Lourdes, kung ano ang sinasabi ng evidence-based mga pag-aaral and protect our children pa rin from any form sana, no? Kung may mga policies man sa school or protocols in the future, we always, no, ang iisipin natin is to prioritize the safety emotionally, psychologically ng mga pag-aaral. Yung dagdagan ko lang yung sinabi mo, Sir Lourdes, doon na sa US. Yes, no, may mga naririnig tayo na sa US kasi ginagawa naman na talaga to, no? Yung mga drills on active mga emergencies, no, active attacks, di ba, Sir Lourdes? But let's remember na sa Pilipinas kasi iba naman, no, yung setup mga paaralan.
Opo.
Sa US kasi, Sir Lourdes, alam natin, di ba, pag kahit napapanood natin, iba very iba ang ano nila, may mga lock sila, isang pindot lang ng button, di ba? Kaagad sila, very automated, di ba, Sir Lourdes, ang kanilang mga locks doon. So kaya kailangan, Sir Lud, kami pag-aaral. Pag-aaralan na sana, yes, while we are prepared to protect our kids, our children, our learners, ay sana wag naman yung yung makakadagdag or maaring may potential to cause harm, no, through trauma or re-traumatization. Kasi ang always, Sir Lud, sana bago tayo do ng drills, needs assessment is very important. Ano pa tong needs assessment, Sir Lourdes? No, tingnan natin, ano ba ang capacity ng isang, kasi nationwide, di ba, Sir Lourdes, ang gusto ng DepEd. Yeah, so, yeah, but we know na kahit naman anong parte ng nation natin, iba-iba ang needs also. So, iba ang needs ng per school natin. So, tingnan natin ano ba ang capacity ng ating mga teachers, ng ating structural, ng structures, no, ng ating paaralan, ano ba ang mga resources available na, at of course, very important, mental health supports. Kasi, Sir Lourdes, kahit naman sa mga drills, meron pa rin dapat, no, na post drill na processing or quote-unquote debriefing na tinatawag natin na ano ba sa tingin natin, naging effective ba ang ating drill? Ano ba ang ating natutunan? So, kailangan always guided tayo by collaboration. Collaborative ang ating way sana to have this Sir Lourdes, no, para mas maganda ang outcome, no, ng ating mga plans and policies later on for the protection of our children.
Doc, yung news network po namin, naglabas po ng pahayag na yung pag-report dito po ay magiging disimulado na kasi yung potential copycat ng mga incidents daw po. Yun po yung iniingatan po namin. Gaano po katotoo itong posibilidad na ito, Doc, na in the same way na yung mga self-harm, yung pagbalita ng mga ganito ay maaring may epekto rin sa mga kapareho, halimbawa ng state of mind?
Correct. In fact, Sir Lourdes, kami sa Philippine Psychiatric Association, dati pa, naglabas na kami talaga ng mga guidelines, no, on proper reporting na by the media or by anyone, no, na sana ay, of course, we need to protect the dignity, privacy of everyone concerned, no, kung may tragedy na nangyayari. So mas maganda, wag na natin siyang i-take down natin, no? Kung meron man tayo, or we report, kung meron man tayong nakikita ng mga videos, kung ano yung nangyari, or we avoid, no, na paulit-ulit ito na nire-report because, again, it can maybe somehow makaka-apekto siya, no, doon sa mga nakikinig, or it can also cause re-traumatization. Kasi ang trauma kasi, Sir Lourdes, hindi lang siya doon sa mga naka-experience firsthand, no? Kundi it can affect anyone kahit na narinig mo lang siya sa balita or tayo ay may nakapagsabi sa atin. So maaari also kasi hindi natin alam no, kung ano ang magiging impact nito lalo na sa mga vulnerable na population, yung may mga pinagdadaanan na or maaring may mga pinagdadaanan na sa kanilang mental health.
So Doc Joanne, marami kasi magsabi na it's the video games. May video games din naman, ng kabataan natin, Doc Joanne. No? wala naman tayong kilala na kakalikutin yung cabinet ng mga magulang at maghahanap ng armas. We play even more violent video games. Access sa internet, access sa deep dark webs ng mga nihilistic forces na nakaka-affect daw doon sa influence sa kanila. Pero marami ka rin pwede sabihin na nasa ganung pagkakataon. Pero kung it takes a village to raise a child, in the same way, it takes a village to raise the opposite of a peaceful child. Parang ganun, Doc, no?
Sir Lord, so kailangan talaga we really need na to strengthen sana, Sir Lord, no, strengthen natin kung ano yung mga protective factors para sa isang individual, be it bata or adults na. We strengthen always yung mga ano bang makakatulong, no, for prevention, mental health promotion, and kung ano ang makakaprotect. So kasama na dito, no, na sana it starts with the home, and of course kasama na rin dito yung school environment, no, na isang individual. So paigtingin natin yung anti-bullying efforts ng mga paaralan, strengthen natin yung community support na available para sa isang learner or sa isang individual, strengthen yung kanilang inherent, no, na mga coping skills. Mas maganda also kung ano din natin, no, we also include din, no, yung tinatawag namin, Sir Lord, no, na bio, psycho, social, spiritual aspect also para sa prevention, mental health promotion, and protection ng bawat isa sa atin.
Alam mo, Doc Joan, this deserves a longer conversation. At sana po magawa po natin yun soon. Maraming salamat po sa oras na binigay niyo sa atin. Dr. Joan May Perez Rifarial, immediate past president of the Philippine Psychiatric Association. Doc Joan, maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Sir Lord, on behalf of the Philippine Psychiatric Association.
The price of the Glock 22 pistol used in the Zamboanga school shooting is 56,000 pesos plus. Meanwhile, an entry-level Windows laptop ranges only from 19,000 to 26,000. But what is exactly the point of this comparison? I myself am not so sure, but just bear with me a bit. The DepEd postponed its planned nationwide active attack drill scheduled for tomorrow to sometime in September. This was after the Philippine Psychiatric Association and the Philippine Society for Child and Adolescent Psychiatry had warned that hyper-realistic simulations have no demonstrated record of reducing casualties while potentially inflicting lasting psychological harm on children. One study they cited found a 42% increase in stress and anxiety language after such drills. We'll now have been like Sandy Hook, Columbine, Parkland in America. But should the drills push through and manage to teach kids how and where to hide, doesn't that also teach potential perpetrators how and where to easily hunt down their targets? Unless they ask those who have plans for mass murder soon to conveniently exempt themselves. But just contemplate on the picture. Filipino school children being trained to hide from gunmen in classrooms where some of them still have difficulty getting access to a computer. The DepEd itself acknowledged this year that some schools have so few functional computers that laptops and tablets may have to be temporarily transferred from neighboring schools just to conduct computer-based national examinations. An EDCOM2 study estimated using DepEd data that tens of thousands of schools lack even a single standard e-classroom package. And we have somehow arrived at a stage of national development where the education system must contemplate the possibility that a student may encounter an assault rifle before encountering his own school-issued laptop. That absurdity alone should tell us where the real emergency lies. School shootings, of course, are definitely horrifying, and the recent incidents in Tacloban and Zamboanga understandably demand better security and preparedness. But preparedness cannot become an elaborate rehearsal for our failure to address the conditions outside the classroom. Circulation of firearms, irresponsible gun ownership, weak security, violence among the young, inadequate mental health services, among many others. But a country unable to guarantee a decent classroom and adequate access to technology should be deeply embarrassed that it must now teach that same child how to survive gunfire. Perhaps the most useful active shooter drill is the one we never have to conduct. Train the adults. The guns used in Tacloban and Zamboanga were both legally issued to parents in the uniform service. Punish if needed. Secure the campuses. Invest in counselors. Security personnel and equipment, and for heaven's sakes, buy the children computers. We can afford it. We can give hundreds and thousands in taxpayers' money to people named Pagong, Pusa, Belat, and other ridiculous fake names. All this money for intelligence and security, and for what? A civilized education system should be preparing students for algebra, literature, and the digital economy, not teaching them which desk is thick enough to stop a bullet. And that's the word of the Lord for tonight in the Political Beat. This is Monday, the 24th of August. I'm Lord De Vera. Please enjoy the rest of this fine evening.